Wowee, Hawks fans. It's one of those ones again. Welcome after a rough match to watch against the Sydney Swans at the G. We hope the battle a la Buddy would have been a little bit more of a fight on our part, but not to be. Towed up today, well and truly. Comments are flooding in. I'm Matt. Welcome to Talking Hawks. We're here to look at the game and discuss what's top of mind for you, your questions. And I'm joined by the great man Daz, who is pulling out all stops to be with us tonight. Mate, how are you?
Freezing. I'm not going to lie to you, Matt. It is cold out here. And that kind of sums up what happened this afternoon. I keep coming back to sort of one word tonight, and that word's lamentable, to be honest. The statistical edges that we can find, and there are a couple, were just completely negated by a lack of execution, work rate at times, simple basic skills, structure. It all fell apart, mate. It looked like Stevie Wonder trying to put a Jenga together. There was just nothing to it. Couldn't build anything. All in all, not great. To be honest, yeah, is the way I would sum it up.
Yes, we'll run with Stevie Wonder analogy. Very good. I think we need to lighten the mood a tad where we can, but there's some honest conversations, to be had here, and no doubt going on in the rooms, just hearing as well from Timmy, who's in there tonight. But the effort outplayed so many things. I'm going to start rattling off a few things here from the fans. So, Craig, good point. The Swans, just another level. Agree, Scrimmer had a cracking game from by his standards. Big question again, and Craig, straight onto one I had, why was Ramsden the sub? Surely you look at that, and we'll get into that shortly. The Chol, the other big forward, suggestion Box Hill might be time for Cholly for a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what we do down forward. I think some emotions here from the fans. Is Sam a little bit too soft on the players?
We still need to keep it PG, guys. Just remember that. We still need to keep it PG. We're a family-friendly show. But yeah, Ramsden the sub made no sense. And hey, Mitch Lewis isn't without some questions either. Hasn't played 16 games in a season. I think he's already missed 4 or 5. So that's going to take him to about the 17, 18 mark if he played every game from here. And there is certainly no guarantee of that happening. So yeah, Ramsden as the sub was strange. I'm not going to lie to you, but
can we unpack that at all?
This could be a long night.
Well, look, it might not be a long night here on this show, but we'll have a bit of a chat. Yeah. It's a long night for players. Mate,
I reckon, Sam, I mean, Luke Beveridge, for mine, takes the crown for the most bewildering coach at times. I think it's time we put Sam Mitchell in the bewildering sub category. So I don't think it was him that put Connor Downey in there for his first game. I think that was Clarko. So Sam Mitchell can get forgiven for that. But Jimmy Blank was the sub against St Kilda last year. We've talked about Henry Hustwaite at times, why he's not getting a full game at all. And I think he got subbed out once this year as well. Throw Rammer in there. The simple answer is I have no idea.
Yeah, the small forward experiment tonight just was a fail. With Chol in the ruck, I'm not sure why he didn't throw Sarong forward or something like that, just for that period when Meek's on the bench and Chol's in the ruck. Puzzled. I mean, you can try certain things with a small setup. I don't think the way the ball's coming inside 50 that, even now crumbing, even if we bring it to ground, I have myself questioning, like, with our game plan and trying to move the ball quickly. We're not there for crumbs like other teams are against us when the ball comes inside 50, and it's not coming in the greatest a lot of the time. But if you bring it to ground and you're not set up properly because you brought it in so quickly and you're not taking a mark, where does that leave you in the forward line? I don't know. I'm just I'm a bit perplexed. Dazzy, any thoughts on the mosquito tribe down forward?
Yeah, it was it was not great. I got to be honest with you. I mean, we are the first rebuilding side I can remember. And look, I'm not going to lay claim that I've watched footy for a longer period of time than most for obvious reasons, but we're the first rebuilding team I can remember, good, bad, or otherwise, that didn't start with defense. We started with ball movement, and we coined Hawk Highway, but we clearly went, if we're going to rebuild this side, we're going to make it slick, fast, and we're going to make mistakes. We've got to live with it. Okay. So if we're going to make mistakes, we're going to live with it. The one thing that you've got to do if you've got ball movement is you need to trap it in your forward half, for sure. That is number one. The retention of territory is so important, whether the delivery is good, great, or otherwise. Now, that Sydney only took, and I say only as if it's a low number. It's not. They took 17 intercept marks on the day. The problem with that is 13 of them were in our back half. 9 of them were in our forward 50. We didn't get crumbing opportunities at that point. I think we still took 15 marks inside 50, which was fine, I suppose. But when you look at a scoreboard that reads, 5 goals, 12, how much does it really mean? I think the only uncontested mark we took that led to a goal was Dylan Moore to Blake Hardwick, which set up the first one. The forward retention was no good. Gunners, a little bit to do with that. Once the ball hit the ground, I didn't think Marby or Chol was the worst. But in the air, when your opponent takes 4 intercept marks on you, that's a problem, which is what Tommy McCartan did. So all over the ground, we were pretty flustered for sure, and just well beaten on the day by a top 4 opponent that should be making a preliminary final. But yeah, the concern I think is all over the ground. I don't think we can limit it to just one arc at the moment, and that's what's I think that's what gives a loss like this a little bit of bleakness, to be honest.
When we do get the shots, Dave's asking, can we have goal kicking lessons? We're probably a little bit unders for sure some weeks, but then we reversed that, last week, admittedly against a much lower opponent on the ladder in North. But I don't know that it's goal kicking lessons. It's just being able to do it on the days and in the moment. Some gimmies we should have got, but hey. What just
and if you take sorry,
before we move on from the forwards there, just like Chol, definitely competes well. Sometimes I see him just stand off. He can take a ripper mark, but we're not seeing it consistently. What are your thoughts with Charlie? Do we need to do anything different? He loves flying for the big marks, but sometimes he just gets a bit outbodied, or they're actually targeting him. And I think today they definitely were roughing him up a bit, trying to get in his head and whatnot as well. But, a mark's a mark. You know how to position your body and launch for it, and at least try and get the jukes on
it. He, to me, looks like the most easily, I don't know whether this is a word, but I'm going to go with wrestleable tall forward in the comp. And that includes guys like, even earlier today, Jed Walter. I don't know how much of the Gold Coast, West Coast game many Hawthorn fans were tuning in for, but I will happily take the place of the sycophant in the room that tuned in for a lot of it. Jed Walter's 19, and it's a struggle to get him out of the way. Marbior just looks ball in flight, just so easy to move. And he's so easy to move in the air as well. If you can get a body in front of him or on him, even as he leaves the ground, he's so malleable in the air and so easy to move out of the way, which is a huge problem. But if he stands his ground and gets given space, he was all right. And you think of that amazing kick from Will Day where he was on his own and he didn't have to move and he was fine. But yeah, the big problem with Chol as a number one option is standing his ground and engaging with his opponent. That's just not the way he's going to win the footy. And it's what we asked of him today. And both he and I think the delivery inside 50 at a Blaine, what percentage goes to either? It's probably a semantics discussion that would take longer than we've got tonight, I think.
Yeah, no, agree. Disappointed that Dimmer's lovely goal didn't count with the little push that Chol had, again, early on. But they were
That's
trying
inexcusable.
at Cholly, it should not happen. Absolutely. You got to show the restraint. All right, let me whip through a few of the comments here. We've got Mackenzie, quite a few comments on Frenchie coming up so far, but definitely standout for me today. I thought he definitely looked comfortable, got a lot of it, was fairly constructive with it. He's looking comfortable. There we go. Craig's agreeing, had some moments. But it was across four quarters as well for mine. Nice to see.
Yeah, he kind of faded out of last week, I thought, and he's faded a couple of times. One of those first quarter operators. Now, as a young player, that's going to happen. By no means am I saying that in a negative context towards Frenchie, but I thought that he had encouraging moments in that third and fourth quarter as well. Game was beyond us, let's be honest, from, the argument could be made from that Chol free kick, to be honest, but probably from Papley's goal at quarter time, and we just went, this is going to be a long afternoon. Kept pushing, kept trying. I just keep seeing a baby Sam Mitchell out there. It's extraordinary. But to have impactful moments in the second half and look like he still had a bit of a tank left and still looked annoyed as well that the game wasn't going his way. Big tick, and probably one of only maybe 3 guys on our list that at round 7 looks better than they did in the last month of last year, which is a pretty stark statement, but a hill I'll die on, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Fair call. I think thoughts on Dimmer, experiment over. I still like him being able to be an option forward. I don't think with the way the Swans were dicing it up, their quick hands and whatnot, they were largely having their way. A little bit of extra resistance from Hardwick. He's not going to bridge the gap that significantly, and we needed the forward options. So I don't mind Hardwick up there. Seems it's fair call, Dave. Others have different views on that one, and I think we'll probably continue through the season to have different views with where he's best played. But just thoughts go out to Sammy Butler today at Box Hill. Yeah, nasty injury there. I believe he did dislocated
4 places. I heard.
Yeah, dislocated ankle as well and both bones. So he'll.
That might have been it. Yeah, the dislocation and then the 2 breaks. Yeah, that sounds right.
So, it's going to be a long rehab for Sam. Thoughts are with you. Get around him, family and friends where you can, and our thoughts are with you, mate. So, all right, positives. Here we go. Jeb's giving us a lot here. More Meek, Frenchie, absolutely. Inviting pressure is our biggest killer. I think, understandably, there's structure, there's quick decision-making. I see is at times we pull it off in close, but I think it's a quickly on the boot and a kick that it's not always guided in the right direction. It's just to get it out of the heat. So to a flat-footed player at times, I think we do see that at times. Not as much that I've observed. I was watching from not at the ground today. Did you see anything around that, Daz? Flat-footed?
Yeah, flat-footed for sure. Handballing the bloke standing still, and a regular listener to Talking Hawks, Sam, reached out to me on Facebook, and I'll use what I told him for this conversation. We look, I don't know whether it's Mitchell, coaching, mental, I don't know what it is. We look terrified of making a mistake, and that invites more mistakes. It's like, Matt, you'll know this. You've got kids that are around this age. It's like teaching them to drive. The one thing you don't want to tell a learner is don't hit that car, because all they're going to focus on is the obstacle, is the car itself. It's like we're being told, don't make a mistake. And what that's going to do, it's going to invite more mistakes. The level of panic or the want to make the ball someone else's problem is massive, and eventually someone's going to get pinged with it. And it started, and I'm not laying all the blame on this guy, but it started with Sis's hesitation on the halfback flank, or 50 out from Sydney's goal, where he had the fake, he was there, he had 3 seconds to make a decision, didn't at all, basically got pinned. And from there it was like, even a dump kick down the line, even if that's a turnover, you still get a chance to set up defensively. Turnovers aren't great, but if you're going to turn the ball over, I'd rather turn it over on the wing, make them kick it twice to set up a scoring shot Meanwhile, we can hopefully build the wall, but gets turned over on 50. And I think it led to the Logan McDonald goal, which got them started. And then from there, it was kind of like, no, you do it. No, you do it. No, you do it. And then from there, someone will mess it up. A few more messed up today than other days. But, yeah, we look like we're worried about making a mistake. And I wonder if Sam Mitchell's bake instruction, whatever you want to call it, to Jack Scrimshaw at quarter time, lays true to that theory. I know Scrimmer turned the ball over, and that's how Papley got that goal. I understand that would not be up to Hawthorn standards. I get that. But that second quarter, and especially when they started to blow us away in that second quarter, we just did not want to make a mistake. We ended up making more of them. Game over.
Yeah, you wonder what confidence is being instilled and what's natural for the development and a lower end of the ladder team versus one at the top, but it's confidence in the way you go about it, leadership, on-field leadership as well. Dylan Moore's flying in that regard. Sis is very different this year compared to years gone by, just in himself, it seems. So hard to sort of piece it all together, but can't go against what you just said there, Daz. I don't know what messages are happening, so it could be a little bit of that. And let me keep going through some of these comments.
And if you need a witness to your accountant at the end of the financial year, mate, I will happily help you out. You use the word different so generously with Sis there, you should be able to write that off on your taxes. Of all the words I think we could use to describe Sis this year, different, I'm not quite sure that cracks my top 5. To be honest, it's not good. It's not. I think of Richmond as well, us, North. There's not too many things so many bottom teams have in common, but one thing that all three of them do is their leadership right now should be under major scrutiny. North's is with Jai Simpkin and Luke McDonald. Richmond's is a little bit in a post-Trent Cotchin era, so maybe they've got some get-out clause there. I don't think Toby Nankervis is a bad leader at all. And, our leadership at the moment on field looks from an outsider, and they'll dispute this, the Hawks, and rightly so, non-existent, with probably the exception of Dylan Moore, as so many have pointed out.
Yeah, look, I think you're seeing efforts, Meekie this year, really solid, consistently, and leading, putting the hand up. I think he's just a beacon for us at the moment. Nice to see Daisy back out there, I think probably with the, I don't know how cooked he was at the end of the game. Flashes throughout the game. It's lovely to see, and his poise and class, some of the disposal, the decision making is lovely. But it sort of dropped off a little bit in the second quarter. Nice to have him back. Let's see him run into some form, and hopefully we get some leadership there too. I think the back line, Frosty's done really well consistently as well as far as leadership. But look, you've got to get around Sam. You've got to get around Sis. As a team, as a club, it's hard to watch, but I think we're seeing some adaptation around those leaders. So. All right, what have we got? What do you think of
when we mention? I'll float this to you, Matty, just quickly before we get to the next one. When you, because I agree with you that sometimes, look, you've just got to grit your teeth and bear it. I get that, but surely sometimes, I bring it back to, I'll use a real world example. If you can't tell your missus you're unhappy, your relationship's worse than you think it is. We as fans, I think, question without attack. For sure, that's not what we want to do. We don't want to attack our players. We won't. Doesn't matter that we're obviously on the live stream and we're trying to look after fans and do the right thing and call it as we see it. But what we can't do, I don't think, as fans, is grit our teeth and go, we don't want to turn into yeah, but. So we don't want to go, and Sis is the example in this case. We don't want to go, Sis isn't going that well. Yeah, but, and then introduce that next sentence. No, right now, as the captain of this footy club, right now, we as fans, I don't think can sit there and go, it's not going great, but sometimes it isn't going great at the moment. And it is up to the leadership group to try digging it out. It's not like we're North and we can sit there and go, in 2-3 years, all our kids are going to be stars, because, North's problem is their experienced guys are Look at last week. But right now we could sit here and go, our leaders just aren't doing enough. No yeahs, no buts. That's where it is. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. And I know you're not happy with it either, and neither should the fans, but it's not okay. On-field leadership at the moment is a problem.
Yeah,
just is.
It is.
Who wants to fix it?
We
don't know.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some support, and we will keep working through it as best we can, I'm sure. Frenchie, Day, Warple should be the guts. Nash not quite there. Newcomb up forward, says Nick. It's
love you, Nick. One of my favourites.
Yeah.
Jai's not a forward at all. Connor didn't have an influence today. Feasted on North. I'm not a massive fan of going. It was only North. Any team on any given day can beat anyone. But yeah, Connor's hugely out of form. Jai in there, Jai, Day, and Warple are going to be the 1-2-3 punch. Frenchie is clean, class. I don't think he needs to start at centre bounces all of the time and can definitely be part of that midfield rotation. We are playing too many midfielders in this side, though. Connor McDonald is probably going to be best as a midfielder. He's on a half-forward flank, and speaking of blokes that have got no confidence at the moment, poor C-Mac. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's, again, not what we've seen from him in the past, and the consistency. Just he needs his hands on the ball.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Like, if a midfielder and hands on the ball is where he's going to be at his best, half-forward flank's not helping him. But, I'll pose a question to you, Matty, and fans, I hope you don't see this as me neglecting you. How many guys have improved? From the last month of last year to now, how many blokes have improved? Because if someone said to me, I can see a little bit in Dylan Moore, a lot in Frenchie, and a lot in Lloyd Meek, I'd go, I completely agree with you. Who else? 7 weeks in. That's nearly 2 months.
Yeah, the Scrimmer comes to mind straight away.
I'll probably agree with that. Yeah, as a lockdown, more lockdown than rebound defender. All right, cool. I'll tick that off. Yeah.
But to the eye, it is a difficult question to answer. So fair point. It's I grapple with what is game plan and what is forcing some. Carl Amon again. Really solid. I think Impey's showing some good stuff. Without going into it, it's like I grapple with like what's game plan and what's putting a player, requiring them to do something that's not as natural to them, where they can't perhaps shine as much because there's a system that where the system isn't quite working. Teams are beating us with our system at the moment. So I don't know that they've gone backwards. There's comments around people's kicking and all sorts of things, but it's, confidence is probably part of it too. When you're getting shellacked on some of these, there's good opponents, but it's if the system is the thing breaking down and you're following the system, that's just hard to cop. I'm sure if you're a player week in, week out, when it's sort of you're doing what you're being asked to do. So don't know if improvement, can you measure it accurately, Daz, when you've got a system perhaps that's not quite cutting it?
Oh yeah, I believe you can for sure. I test is a big thing, and it's I don't need to deep dive into the stats to know that Geelong and GWS are the two best teams this year. I don't need to deep dive into stats to know that North and Hawthorn are probably the two worst teams in it. Depends where you see Richmond. I test is huge. Stats tell us a story, not the story. And right now we're probably in consensus that 9% of our list is improved in 2 months. If it was round 3, I'd put my hands up and go, we've just got to give it time. We're nearly 2 months in now. We've got the Bulldogs at Marvel next week. They're coming off an interstate loss to Freo. The torch is going to be on Bevo. And the last time they went to Marvel after Bevo was under pressure, they absolutely ripped the guts out of St Kilda.
So get down to that one, fans, because they need all the help you can get. It's going to be an arm wrestle. And look, it's back to the mouth guards of training, isn't it? It's surely got to be bringing that grit and that intensity. I think the system can work when there's greater intensity too. I think we've seen passages of games where we're seeing some of that working and clicking. And sometimes it looks very simple, I think, when it is working. But anyway, it's not always standing up all situations. Peter Allen, how did Jai Sarong go today? He came off for Ramsden just early into the third quarter.
Did nothing wrong, I thought. Didn't start, didn't need to. That's not his role down there as sort of your third lockdown defender. Did nothing wrong, did nothing extraordinary. He was okay. I guess that's the easiest way to put it from my end. He's definitely not going to be someone fans angry at. We probably wouldn't put him in the best if we were writing for the newspaper. Just somewhere in between for Jai, I think.
Yep. There's a couple of questions here on Weddle. It's being wasted in the back line. Could he be more damaging forward of centre? Could he go in the middle? I think Timmy's being told when he's down there training and whatnot, Weddle is not a midfielder. So forward does for Weddle. Is it the right time? We all see the potential.
My answer to that would be I think we'd want a good explanation as to what's expected of him down back, because he's not breaking lines at the moment at all. So he's not going from the defensive third of the ground, taking territory, getting into the middle of the ground, and then delivering it into the forward part of the ground, which is what you want every rebounding defender to do. See Nick Blakey's 2-hour performance today for reference as to what I'm talking about. Wasted potentially in his spot forward of centre. Again, maybe. Do you want him to be that third tall? Personally, I would rather Weddle be our version of Nick Blakey as best we can. And then, I'd rather give Colshadir a go, maybe at the expense of Gunners, who did enough to get scoring shots away, a bit like Guinea, did enough to get scoring shots away, didn't put it on the scoreboard. Forward of centre, my instincts probably say no, and I think I was one that was calling for it in the preseason. So how times can change us. I wouldn't use it as wasted. Maybe the role isn't maybe what we expected, but he looks like he's stagnated a bit, the Wedler, which is a shame. I still think he can be a wingman, to be honest. The problem is we've got about 8 of them as well.
Yeah, it is a very distinct change to his role, isn't it? He's perhaps doesn't have that green light at the moment to run and gun the way we were salivating at.
Almost like he's afraid of making mistakes.
Is it, or is it role? Possibly. Oh,
yeah, it definitely can be. I was being tongue-in-cheek there. No, me? Because when you think of Weddle's role, it might have made more sense if he just stood next to Will Hayward all day, as you kind of not quite small enough to be a small forward, not quite tall enough to be a tall forward. I didn't notice he was next to Will Hayward all day. I didn't notice Will Hayward had a massive effect, so maybe that was the case. I'm not sure, but again, he's just one of these guys that needs the ball in hand, and we're just, we're not feeding these guys enough for better or worse, and clearly it seems like it's worse at the moment.
Yeah. We're getting people that are bringing comments that some things we've already discussed. So thanks for joining us. Go back if you're interested to sort of cover off and get some thoughts with the fans' comments through it all. I haven't got I'm going to look at some stats here, but Jono's asking, Daz, who would we drop to the VFL on the back of that game?
Ooh. Oh, my answer probably depends on who you bring in. I don't think Connor Nash can survive this week, just off the top of my head. 32 and 10 clearances last week. Yep, cool, awesome. If we take it as a sort of a 4-week block, what's he done for the other 3? Probably not enough. And again, that's the thing. And I'm not saying we don't have depth, because, Ward's still there, Hustwaite, these guys, whatever we think of these guys, there are good players at Box Hill, but, if we either in agreement or people can disagree, that's fine. If we're playing too many midfielders, dropping a midfielder for a midfielder doesn't change that. So could you look at a Colshadir up forward, still keep Gunston there, maybe drop a Connor Nash for a Colshadir, for example, and run Connor McDonald through that midfield mix? I could probably live with a Bulldogs backline, and you might be able to take advantage of a Bailey Dale, Jason Johannesson, or a Bailey Williams even playing a little bit taller than they need to. I would be more comfortable with a Colshadir potentially playing on a Bailey Williams rather than, saving him for St Kilda, for example, and then him getting, Callum Wilkie or Josh Battle as that third forward, maybe as a good indoctrination point. So who would I drop? I don't think Connor Nash can play next week. I know the Dogs have got Libba and Bont and these guys, but surely we've just got to go. We just need to try to beat you our way rather than, instead of stopping you, you try to stop us.
Good reasoning.
Maybe, but Connor stands out, but we don't have the continuity of other tools to drop a Chol, for example. So, sorry, fans, I think you're going to be let down in that department, and we can't drop anyone down back. We've got no one coming in that wouldn't be fed to the wolves.
Yeah,
Ethan Phillips, probably the name that comes to mind.
It is a hard one with who to drop, and if you talk about confidence and whatnot, is it a C-Mac? If you're trying to work out some things there in that forward mix, is it Gunston? You want the experience between those two. Is there not the Finn had a bad day? Is there an obvious lockdown role there? Got to get the hands on the ball. It's hard, with aim on. Harry Morrison, just perhaps not getting the same meters gained and things like that you'd expect. So to call one player, I'll go with C-Mac or a Gunston.
Ooh. Dropping Croc. Yeah, like I say, I think he needs a change of role. He just lacks the confidence, unfortunately. I think Finn is going to keep his spot because Bailey Dale, I think, had 74 touches in the last 2 weeks and kicked 3 goals. I think that's if we went into this game wanting to stop Blakey, we're probably going to want to stop someone on the outside. And Bailey Dale, I know they lost to Freo on the weekend, but he kept them in it single-handedly that game up until three-quarter time. So I think he'll be the guy that Sam wants to stop and Finn will play. So, yeah, Connor, Croc, Jack, they probably stand out as the 1, 2, 3 in maybe whichever order, obviously, that team selectors want to go with. And
I didn't get to see Wingard, but that's probably potentially, he's bobbed up nicely. Has he got the stamina in him to go a full game at AFL level? But seemingly did well from what I saw.
Still reckoning Liverpool just got engaged too. So massive congratulations to the Chadwick.
Absolutely. We love seeing that. All right, Ethan Phillips. If you're talking about backs that potentially could come in, that's maybe one just before. Who do you have that could come through the ranks? I think he's definitely putting his hand up. I don't know how he went today.
10 marks, I think, today. Go with
not bad.
15 last week.
Yeah, 17, I think it was.
Someone in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, 17, phenomenal. Yeah, extraordinary. Yeah. Again, I'm okay with it as long as he's not playing a lockdown role because I just don't think he'll be able to contain Norton. I think Jamara is going to be back this week. Lucky us. We could say as the Hawks got a really good win. I'm just going to... Ethan Phillips, 10 marks today from 16 disposals. So doing everything he can to put his hand up. But if he goes and stands next to Jamara is going to have about 10 shots at goal, I think. And that's not against Ethan. But, how often do first game key defenders come up against a number 1 or 2 tall or 1A, 1B, if you want to put Norton and Jamara in that conversation and go extremely well? It is rare. I'm going off history here, guys, not EP, I promise you. I'd love Ethan to do beautifully. I'm putting him on Jamara's got Zach Dawson on Anthony Rocker vibes on it for me.
Okay.
Or Travis Cloak might have been. I think someone from Collingwood gave Zach a bath, unfortunately.
Kaz is loving Frosty. I think most of us are this year. He's doing very well. Meek definitely had the better of Grundy today, which is really solid.
Yep, agree.
Really solid. Round the ground. I think he was just that point of frustration. Sure, there was a cheeky hit there, whatever. But Meek was just doing. I don't think he all the tricks that Grundy's got over his whole career. I'm like, I've been waiting for him to come back, and he just didn't. Meek just kept turning up and doing what he does, and it was just really, really solid game again from Lloyd Meek. It's great to see.
And a beautiful coin in my Supercoach side too, just quietly, Meeky. I have to get something right this year. It seems like he's one of them. So you're guilty.
Yeah, there was a question whether you're in the doghouse, Daz, tonight, but we're just lightening the mood a little.
No, I do not get I do not get Wi-Fi well enough on StreamYard, which is how we do this operation in my bedroom/office inside. So when we live stream, Daz is outside. It's what we have to do, guys. It's what I do for the people.
The commitment, is amazing, Daz.
I've got enough insulation to fight off the hypothermia, so we're going beautifully.
Yeah. All right. I think the comments are coming through. It's amazing. I'm struggling to keep up.
It's a difficult job, that one. I know it well. It's looking at it going, Jesus.
I think what do we need to see a little bit different? What have you seen this year, fans and Daz, that you've liked in passages that you think we need to bring next week? If we could just start to dream up, hey, pick a few of these things out, one or two things that we just need to bring. It's easy to say the intensity or whatever it might be, absolutely, but like, what have you seen that's worked that you think we really need to bring against the Dogs? You're very good at the opposition analysis, Daz. So while the fans have a think, I'll keep an eye on it. But what are your initial thoughts on that, Daz?
Not just against the Bulldogs, I'll go specific against them in a moment. The first thing that I want to do is I want to stop the flies to the honey, if you will. The amount of times that we get beaten because we've got two blokes that are second and third to the ball. And then from there, our opponents are +1 at stoppage and they're able to just walk out the front. Chad Warner did it so many times. It's extraordinary. Errol did it a few times as well. Look, if you're going to go at the ball, go at the ball. My God, you need to win it in this league. 6-6. If you leave your, defensive half open, you are just going to get killed. And it just happens so many times. And, I feel for Frosty. I feel for Scrim in a big way, who's having to play undersized. There's an argument to be made, well, good side, bad side, Frosty is a key defender. I totally get that. Jack Scrimshaw is playing undersized. The last thing he needs is an uncontested Chad Warner or Isaac Heaney streaming towards half forward with 3 Hawthorn blokes behind him. So if you give the Bont the chance to do that, he'll have 40 and kick 3. So that's a problem. With ball in hand, though, against the Bulldogs, what Freo were able to do really, really well is to basically do, and I'm going to use a Squid Game reference here, but is being able to go red light, green light, which is when they won the ball at stoppage, they would have a hit-up target, basically 20 metres away. So often for Sarong and Nat Fyfe, that was a guy like even Andy Brayshaw at times. Bailey Banfield did it really well. Walters. I don't think Switkowski played off the top of my head, but they had a couple of others that worked up the ground nicely. But in their back half, Freo, they were so patient. Just hit the kick. And as soon as they got an uncontested mark, basically forward of centre, they went with pace. And even though the Bulldogs were set up well behind the ball, the panic they were able to put as Josh Tracy kicked goals and Banfield kicked a couple, including the sealer, was extraordinary. So a bit more patience in the back half and make them panic in their back half, and we should be hopefully okay. So they'll have no Cody Wakeman too, which is handy for Dimmer. So he might play forward. Yeah.
If I try to summarise some of the themes coming through, have we gone backwards? And Jason's just dropped a comment. 1 and 7, same as last year. Only copped 2 hidings today and against Gold Coast compared to 4 this time last year. So a little bit of perspective there, perhaps.
Melbourne.
No Lewis. Melbourne
was a pasting.
Sorry, what's that one?
Melbourne was a pasting as well this year.
There we go. Thank you. So adding into that, Jason, mid-season draft with Butler, long-term injury list, no doubt. We might have to make a move there. So that's I guess not perspective where we're at, but have we gone backwards? I think there's the injuries. We had a pretty good run last year as well. I believe at the start of the season we were still going pretty good. Like the list was fairly healthy. We had a good squad to choose from. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daz. But
yeah, no, you're 100%. We were, I think, overall consensus was the 4th healthiest list last year. I don't think it would be that now, but how many guys are we missing? Could be an All-Australian one day. I would say Mitch Lewis, but he hasn't played more than 15 games in a season, and he's now 25. So.
Yeah. So look, it's possibly, but some of those factors might be a part of it. The health, just continuity. Playing with a consistent squad, it makes a world of difference. Sometimes week in, week out, just get that momentum built. So comments are still coming in, but if we'll do our MVPs, we'll get that out. Keep an eye out for it tomorrow. If you're not following us on our socials, please do. Please subscribe. Listen into the pods. There'll be Daz. I think you're up for the 6 points. Is that right?
I will be. Yeah, I will be. And normally with 6 points, no matter what, I usually watch the game again, or even the KO mini, the 20-minute version, just to establish some points. I ain't doing that. Just straight up. I love you, Hawks fans, and I back in my ability to recount and to hopefully eloquate my points. Ain't no way I'm touching this game with a 10-foot pole. No way. So hopefully after tonight's little therapy session that we can calm down a little bit and then bring some objectivity, both positive and negative, to the table with 6 points. But yeah, no, I won't be going back to I think this will be the first game this year I won't go back and at least have some kind of look at, for the pure and simple reason of it was just, everything we did didn't work.
Yeah, look, the emotions, you feel it all. We're in it with you. Fans, we appreciate you joining us and jumping into the conversation. I didn't expect we'd talk this long, but we will, I think, wrap it up. So tune in for our 6 points. Daz, thank you. Definitely starred, as always. Doesn't matter about the cold. Pulling stats left, right, and centre, and a few hard-hitting truths there, Daz. So I appreciate that. Lauren,
thanks, mate. Thanks, Hawks fans.
Lauren couldn't join us tonight. Is she on the 6 points with you, Daz?
Yeah, I think she will be. Yeah. So
there we go.
Tell you what, the A level I'm going to have to bring to that to keep up with the First Lady of Hawthorn. My goodness me.
She is very solid, and we're very lucky to have her. So, well, enjoy your evening, one and all, and we will call it a night, and we'll be there supporting the Hawks again next week against the Dogs, 4 p.m. Sunday. Get there if you can to Marvel, and until then, go Hawks.